let's do this, and let's do this. Okay, let's get together and call to order the meeting of planning on Tuesday, July 22nd at 4 o'clock. We have an agenda, and we'll have 2 managers' reports after, so motion on the minutes moved, seconded. All those in favor, contrary, carried. The next meeting will be in September. And we have the awarding of a contract to provision the automated building code, and we got Mr. Cooper. We want to recognize the Honorable Mr. Cooper from the third floor. We're into parliamentary procedure now, so welcome.
I would probably cut it short from honorable. I don't think I quite fit that.
Okay. Do you want to explain, we got a presentation?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'd just like to provide a brief synopsis to put into context our report. Building staff and staff from other departments, we have embarked upon an ambitious program, an initiative to develop and implement a system of rule-based software, hybrid AI using, I guess, methodology for doing building code review and also checking for zoning regulations by using software. We believe that this tool would give us substantial savings in manpower and time in the technical workings of what we do. And the true innovation, the thing that really has the most impact, is that the time freed for this will allow staff to perform the vital role of project management to get permits through. So there's innumerable hands that, and from many, many departments that touch every permit, and to have this tool to free time from our staff so that they can do the very important task of expediting permits along, I think would be extremely valuable. As far as I know, throughout North America, we would be the first. Part of doing this is to digitize the British Columbia Building Code, and that is part of the work that's before us, and that is part of what the report is asking for. And so once digitizing natural language, which is the building code, into a logic that a computer software can understand, it will be able to evaluate designs for compliance to building code. And so that's the crux of the work before us in the next several months.
Okay, well, some questions. I'm going to go to Councillor Heed first. Cash, are you there?
I am here.
Yeah, okay, you're on.
So I think this is absolutely a great initiative, and I want to thank the Honorable Mr. Cooper for bringing this forward. However, I'm hoping, Mr. Chair, that there's a slight amendment to this to include something that is a bit of a roadblock for several of our projects going forward. We seem to have this congestion at this particular point. And I've had conversations with Mr. Cooper with respect to this. And what I'm going to ask you to do, Chair, is you consider, I'm not a member of the committee, so I can't introduce the amendment, but the amendment where we add traffic engineering to this pilot initiative. I think if we can add that, I think there's going to be a substantial, not only savings for developers and people that are coming forward, but certainly staff time, as Mr. Cooper has articulated in this. This is one where using artificial intelligence really, really works well based on some of the research I've looked at with respect to this. And Mr. Chair, you know I'm an advocate of using these types of technologies to not only ensure we're doing the right thing within our bureaucracy, but that we can create those efficiencies which a lot of our people are frustrated with, whether you're a builder, whether you're just a developer, even just people that want to do their own project management coming forward. So I'm hoping, Mr. Chair, that you would consider introducing the amendment to have this process include our traffic engineering people.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Cooper, is this a feasibility? Can we do it?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Councillor Heed, yes. I'd like to add that the Director of Transportation was a part of our initial proof of concept study, and it was discussed at the transportation planning elements that a plan check would undergo would be part of this, would be part of the outcome.
But formally, obviously, the question is some doubt for Mr. Heed.
It will, yes.
So should we
The
need a
question is yes.
resolution to do that? I guess we do.
Through Mr. Chair, it is part of the intention already. Okay.
Well, the
I
intention.
just, Mr.
let's
Chair, I
formalize
just
it.
like to see it somehow added so we don't start pulling
I'd
things
make
off.
a motion right now that we add traffic engineering to the,
Number 13
on the list. I know, all those in favor? Contrary carried. It's added, and I'm going to go, anything else, Cash?
Thank you very much, Mr.
Okay,
Chair.
it's added. Okay, Carol's on.
Thank you so much. So as a sign maker for like 4 decades and running my own business, I can tell you digitizing is a miracle tool. What you can do, literally you just put something on the bed, scan it, and it's there. Rather than trying to redraw something, it's unbelievable. One of my questions is that given all of the extra tools that are going to be available, like the building code, automated plan review, the online portal to process permit applications, there's like 13, 14 things, integrated review process, and using artificial intelligence. Is it possible that some of this permitting process could turn around in 24 to 48 hours?
Through the chair to Councillor Day. I think for this project, we'll have a deadline for the scope that's being proposed by May of next year. At that time, we will have an implemented system that will check for the building code. In order to issue a permit, there are many hands and many departments that have to give their review and approval as well. The desire is that this will allow staff to be freed from purely technical tasks and to spend more time working with all the other departments to streamline the absolute time that a permit will take. If I may, Mr. Chair, just a bit of whimsy within our department when it looks to be that we don't need, for those building types that don't need a lot of input from other departments, we can probably do this in a day.
Wow. Well, it's a real game changer. And I'm really thrilled. I'm glad you added in the origin that in September 2023, the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, the federal government, gave us a housing accelerator fund of up to $35 million. And this is part of that fund. Could we have done this without that funding from the federal government?
Through Mr. Chair to Councillor Day, there was also, if I'm not mistaken, there was we asked for permission to spend said money, so to council.
Yeah.
So I believe that was authorization that the council was in support of spending this money that comes from CMHC.
Yeah, I mean, that the whole idea was to accelerate building, and that's, I guess, why it's called the Accelerator Fund.
Right.
Thank you.
Good. Andy?
Thanks, and through the chair. Yeah, as has been mentioned, very kind of interesting report and a lot of potential for it. I mean, as you've described, I think it'll save time for staff, it'll save time for applicants, consequently, it saves money. And I think it will increase the city's opportunity for productivity, obviously, to do more in a shorter period of time. The one question I have is, once it's digitized, is there an opportunity for Richmond to monetize that a little bit with other jurisdictions, or will that be specific to Richmond? I mean, I know the building code is the province, but can we basically use that with other jurisdictions? Would they come to us for that?
Through Mr. Chair to Councillor Hobbs, within the, we haven't signed the contract yet with the vendor, and so with this report, we're seeking your permission or council's permission to sole source a contract. Within the negotiations of that contract will be some sharing, since the city will be providing the funds to digitize the BC building code. There will be negotiations for the city to share in that, whatever proceeds that can be. No building code in Canada has been digitized to date. I've been told that through Grant, our IT director, that it's not appropriate to ask for a part of the intellectual property of the software. However, they have that. But however, the input, that the monetary input and our labor in this part is fair game, because in digitizing the code.
Sounds good, thanks.
Thank you. Through the chair. Sorry, I got two questions. One relates to the amendment that was voted on. What's your take on the traffic engineering? That was the term there. There was nothing in the report. There's no line item. Could you just describe what could the automated plan component be for traffic engineering?
Okay. Through Mr. Chair to Councillor Wolf, one of the worst things you can do to staff as a form of discipline is to make him or her count number of parking stalls. And one of the worst things you can do to a building inspector is to count parking stalls once the building is completed. We try not to do that. What this automated plan review, as it's checking for things like the materiality of the building, fire separations, ratings for walls, ceilings, floors, doors, hardware, railing heights, extensions of railings, on and on and on for, and apparently 3.5 minutes for a large building is what it takes to do. Asking it to count parking stalls and asking it to review turn radius, maneuvering aisles, the sight lines at corners. These are the elements that are checked for under transportation planning. So it will do those elements quite easily.
Great, thanks. Next question I had is in regards to the financial impact. It says that this is a contract for $630,000 of the fund that's $717,414. That's funded by the Housing Accelerator Fund. When that fund was granted to us and that account was made, was this the intended purpose of it, or is there something else that funding was originally intended for, or could also be used for?
Through Mr. Chair to Councillor Wolf, if I understand the question, yes, the $717,000 was always intended for this program. We spent the first part of it in a proof of study concept, and which leaves the remainder $630,000.
Okay, great. And my last question then, through the chair, under the list of deliverables under the scope of work, there's nothing that mentions the permitting requirements for demolition. Would that also be included in here?
Through Mr. Chair to Councillor Wolf, no, we had the permitting requirements for demolition is not, it won't be covered by this.
Okay, then I don't have a follow-up. Thanks.
Yes, well, thank you for this report, and I think this is long overdue. We should have done this sooner. Now, I'm kind of surprised that you mentioned in the report that this is the last paragraph, right? Saying the first such system in any jurisdiction in North America. But I understand that in other jurisdictions, like, Singapore, they may have already developed something like this. At least, I think they have been able to do permit scanning or permit, assessment through this kind of system. So how different is this system from other packages that have been used and available in other places? So why is this so unique and we be the first in North America?
Through Mr. Chair to Councillor Au, yes, so there are systems in Singapore and in Scandinavia that's being used presently. They're based on rule-based software systems where they actually wrote, all of these systems are based on what we call the Building Information Modeling System. That is it is an industry standard for drawing drawings, essentially. It may look like lines on a piece of paper, but what it really is a parametric database where what you draw actually has embedded meaning. So it knows the materiality of the symbols that you would draw for a wall, a floor, a stair, a wall, a window. It actually knows how it's made. So that's called building information modeling. And this, the software that's being proposed, that's at the crux of it. So we would be receiving files, which is the industry standard anyways, and we would be using this software model to do the analysis if it's compliant with everything it needs to be. For example, the glass there needs an insulative rating of a certain amount for it to be compliant, and the frames, the building information model would provide that information. The software that we are developing would read it and either color that part of the plan green or red. Red means it fails, green means it passes. So it's a graphic interface as well. I don't know of what other cities in North America are claiming, but what they are using mostly is for using GIS to do zoning, to check for zoning regulations. And for zoning regulations, they're checking for height, they're checking for area, they're checking for setbacks, roadways and that sort of thing. What we're proposing is a big step more. We're proposing to check for compliance with the building code and the zoning regulations. So it's a level of complexity that's quite a bit higher. It's a level of complexity that requires the applicant to present with a building information modeling. And might I say in future development, should this go forward, there will be opportunities to incorporate the AI, which will take two-dimensional drawings and make them into a three-dimensional model that the software can understand.
Now, I wonder if the company has any video that can explain these kind of concepts and operations to lay people like me, so that we can have a better understanding of the system and how it works. Do they have some kind of audio-visual thing that we can use?
Yeah. Through Mr. Chair to Councillor Au, I'm not aware of any promotional videos. It is true that this company is, although very skilled, is they're not slick in terms of promotion. I can ask them for one. I can be in our What I can provide is the proof of concept study. During that proof of concept study, we took an actual building permit application on Park Avenue, and we digested it through their software, and it provided a building code a compliance report off of that, and that was demonstrated to us. So they had no previous knowledge of what plan we were going to throw at them, and their software was successful. So we can provide the report, and we can provide their output.
Yes, okay, good. My second question is that, okay, so once we adopt this model or this software, are we going to develop some kind of a measure to show the improvements or the saving of time, before and after? So some benchmarking, for example, how long did it take in past for us to approve average project, and after using this software, how much time did we save, that kind of thing?
Sure. Through Mr. Chair to Councilor Al, yes, benchmarking is part of the contract. Benchmarking and services and seeing how it performs and making adjustments to how it performs will be part of the contract, which will continue.
Yeah, because I hope that in the future we can have some data to show that,
Yeah.
wow, it's worthwhile to spend this money, on this project because of this result. My last question is that now, in the conclusion part, you also mentioned that the initial cost of 1 year term is this amount. So what will be the future cost? This is only a one-time cost, so is there any, ongoing cost?
Through the chair to Councilor Al, what is being proposed right now is to develop software and to implement it seamlessly within our permitting system and with the permit optimization program as well. And so it is envisioned that if it is successful, we would continue with ever expanding the capabilities to include other departments' reviews as well. We would expand it to servicing the review of civil off-site drawings and servicing agreements. We would we'll do even more for transportation, and we will keep on offering it to different departments once we see how well it does.
Yeah, and again, I asked that question because I have some bad experience before when I was working for the health sector, and at one time they were also working with a software company and, to digitize the health records and things like that. And they promise a lot of things, and then in the middle, they say, no, we need more money because, we encounter certain kinds of hurdles, and then another asks for money, another asks for money, another asks for money. So the initial cost was not so alarming, but at the end, I think the health people spend a few times more than the initial estimate. So that's why I'm kind of concerned that, okay, the initial cost may not seem to be big, but then what will happen in the future? So that's why I asked this question.
Through Mr. Chair to Councilor Al, I think we were pretty diligent in scoping the deliverables. We came to this conclusion after the proof of concept study where it was proven that the software already exists. So the task before is adjusting what they already know of what's called the International Building Code, which is very similar to the National Building Code of Canada, which is from which the BC Building Code is derived. So from all that we know about architecture and with our friends in IT, we could understand that it's not a large scope of work to modify what they already have to digitize the BC Building Code and to use their compliance software, which they already have. So I think it was scoped pretty tight that we will have an operational system in May.
Couple of things for me. Thank you very much, but following along Councillor Howe's thing, I think we're going to need some metrics of success and how we're going to do it. You mentioned you're saving time and man hours, et cetera, or person hours. We need to have that. I think there's no really compelling reasons why we shouldn't start it in the 21st century to try to start doing some of these things. And I think it's money well invested. But we look to see where those operational efficiencies are. And I think that's something we're going to have. You still didn't come, the total cost of the initial one-year term is estimated 630 inclusive taxes. That mean the second year, if we're still using it, we're going to have to pay a royalty?
Through.
Or are we basically buying the thing for 630,000?
We're buying an operation, we're buying the development of a software that will be successfully implemented into our system.
And we will own it?
We will own the use of it. The intellectual property we won't own.
Okay, but for 1 year, we will own it. What do we do in the second year? How much is it going to cost
Well,
us in the second year?
I think that would be under negotiation for a future scope for expanding the capabilities and for maintenance. What would be moving forward would be for maintenance. And the reason why it was presented to committee and hopefully to council is that it is the terms of scope and funding that was presented to CMHC. And under the Housing Accelerator Fund, that was agreed to. And it was agreed to for precisely the development and implementation of the system. And the ongoing maintenance of the system would be paid for separately or addressed separately.
If just another question, if we're going to use it, and we're basically the first to utilize that, what is the company giving us to be the guinea pigs, if you wish to put their program in operation? Are there any benefits to us from that point of view?
Mr. Chair, it would be the digitization, whatever potential royalties that can happen through the digitization of the building code, which has not been done yet.
Okay, well, we'll be looking forward to it.
Thank you for this. I really appreciate it. I know you and I sat down with a BIM provider a couple of years ago, seeing some of the things that they could do, and it seemed really interesting and exciting. And you seemed pretty excited about the possibilities for application here. And so I'm guessing you've been busy over the last couple of years looking at different ones, and this is the one that came to the top of the heap?
Through Mr. Chair to Councillor Liu, yes, we did a lot of global searches, and actually we also asked IBM, to do a search as well, and they concluded that this company, or precisely the principal of this company, were the only people who have digitized the A building code to date.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Congratulations on, because I'm sure you've spent quite a bit of time working on this, and I think we'll be excited to see how this works out for us. And so following on to what Councillor McNulty was saying, so does the Housing Accelerator Fund then own a portion of this then? Is that how this works? Or we're using their funding, but are they part of the conversation of who was selected and then who else has access to the technology?
Through Mr. Chair to Councillor Liu, no, they're just interested in making us do things faster and better. They have no stake in this.
Okay, so we own the work we've put into it, and then there's the possibility that we are dragging you off to UBCM next year to show everybody else?
Sure.
Thanks.
Through Mr. Chair to Councillor Liu, we are, if if accepted, we will have a discussion with building ministry staff about this.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Motion on the floor? Seconded? All those in favor? Contrary carried. You have permission and money.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, the next one is a referral response on the Stevenson Hotel. It's been received for information. And yes, both mics are free.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll ask Ms. Mosley to provide a brief summary of the report.
Thank you. The staff report responds to a referral from council requesting staff's comments in response to a delegation made to council regarding the heritage status of the Steveston Hotel at 12111 3rd Avenue. The delegation requested to remove the heritage status from the property. The Steveston Hotel is one of 17 protected heritage properties in the Steveston Village Heritage Conservation Area. The historic building was constructed in two main phases, in 1897 and in 1948. The Statement of Significance identifies its heritage value as the oldest commercial lodging establishment in Richmond and its continued use as a hotel since 1897. Its early and continuous role as a social and community gathering space, and additionally as a vestige of the remarkable development of the Steveston town site in the 1890s and its association with two notable Vancouver-based architects. While alterations have been made, the historic form of the building is largely intact. Character-defining elements noted in the Statement of Significance include its corner location, use, form, scale, massing, wood frame construction, and several design features such as the parapet, flanking pavilions, and central entrance of the 1897 built hotel. For protected heritage properties such as the Steveston Hotel, additional development on a property can be considered based on the site zoning through a heritage alteration permit or a heritage revitalization agreement. This would also provide an opportunity to restore the historic hotel building and further develop the property in a compatible form, density, and use that would enhance the heritage character of Steveston Village. A Heritage Revitalization Agreement, or HRA, is a mutually beneficial negotiated agreement between the property owner and the city that can provide non-financial incentives in exchange for exterior restoration and rehabilitation of the heritage building. Incentives can be provided through zoning relaxations to help achieve heritage conservation, such as relaxations to building height, parking, use, or density. For an example, Council approved an HRA in 2022 that has been successful in conserving and protecting the historic R.G. Ransford House while allowing sensitive infill development. Development options for the property could be explored through a heritage planning process, working with a heritage professional and architect experienced in heritage projects. This process would be led by the property owner. Staff would be available to provide support through the process, and the Steveston Village Heritage Conservation Grant Programme could assist with the cost of preparing the necessary planning documents, such as a heritage conservation plan and architectural drawings, as well as with subsequent heritage conservation work. Staff do not recommend any change to the heritage status of the Steveston Hotel as a protected heritage property. How to conserve the heritage building through redevelopment could be explored through a heritage planning process and identification of a specific redevelopment proposal. Staff recommend that this report be received for information, and we're available to answer any questions.
Yeah, I'm going to start it off. Quick question. What is the status of the building right now? Okay, what is the status? What is going to be done and what can be done? The 5 suites can go in there with no problem?
To Mr. Chair, so a heritage alteration permit was issued by Council in September 2024 to allow some exterior alterations that would enable those interior changes to be made. The heritage alteration permit is relative to exterior changes. It doesn't govern what happens inside in terms of interior alterations, and a building permit was issued for those same alterations later in November.
And when, at what stage given this, and I know I didn't support that, and I make no bones about it, because I think we're going to lose the Steveston Hotel, to be quite frank with you. At what stage will we evaluate those changes to achieve the goals of the owner from a heritage perspective? Because I understand the signage is going, all is going, nothing is saved. And that's not what, I knew that was coming, but council of the day, and at that time voted for it. Okay, so where are we evaluating that to what we see before the rest goes? I'm putting you on the spot. But no, I have a
Mr.
reason
Chair,
for
yes.
it, okay? We're losing number 17
Yeah,
as a heritage. And we got a committee here that supported it, save one.
to Mr. Chair, when a proposal comes forward for a heritage alteration permit for exterior alterations, staff do work with the applicant to try and ensure that what's proposed, it doesn't impact the heritage values or the character defining elements of the property as far as possible, and also that it continues to contribute to the heritage values of Steveston Village. What staff recommend is that a more thorough heritage planning process is undertaken for this property at, as soon as possible, in order to be able to really understand how to conserve the property for the long term as part of the larger opportunity of the property.
Who's going to make the judgment on the heritage supposedly changes? For example, if they change the siding or whatever, who is going to make that decision? And what is the definition of heritage? I know I'm being very difficult,
Yeah, and
okay? But
perhaps I'll step in.
I think all of Steveston is looking at us right now.
Yeah, yeah. So to the chair, so to begin that process, you would need heritage consultants, heritage experts who would essentially do the evaluation and working with the city. Now, we do have guidelines that are established by council, but ultimately council would make a decision.
So it'll come back.
It would come back to council, yes.
All right, I appreciate that, because I don't think the Heritage Committee, or that should be making that decision. I think it should be brought here. And as you know, we've had letters from the Heritage Societies, et cetera, et cetera. I'm sure this is going to create a lot of discussion as we go forward, but we're receiving information, which I appreciate. It's a good report and very accurate on the history. Councillor Hobbs and I were having a little chit chat about it in the history of Steveston half an hour ago. Andy, over to you.
Thank you, and through the chair. Thanks for the report, and I realize too that it's for information, and so I'm sure we'll receive it that way. Yeah, there has been a lot of discussion about it, and if I understand things correctly, one of the things that the applicant was looking for was to have it removed from the heritage list. But I think the public and a lot of people would like to know what we think about that, and I can say very clearly that I don't anticipate I'd ever vote for something like that. So hopefully everybody else feels the same way. I'm sure they do. So that will remain as a heritage building. I think some of the things you mentioned about, changes to it, restoring it with a larger historic plan, going through the right process with a heritage consultant, that might be interesting, because when I look at the report, I have to say, out of the different versions of the hotel, the two I like are the Salmon Hotel, I guess, from 1907, and then the one from about 1947, which still looks the same, but the name had changed to the Steveston Hotel. And that had a wood siding look to it, and then the roof had a different line to it. I don't know what you call that, but it was a much more older, kind of pioneerish type of look to the roof line, and now it's just flat with no kind of edge to it. So in terms of an overall process, having a look at it, if they want to get into that with the right process, with the heritage planning, with a consultant, that could be interesting. In terms of taking it off the heritage list and demolishing it and building something new, no. So thanks for the report, and I'd be happy to receive it for information if we get to that.
Okay, Alexa?
Thank you, through the chair. Thank you for the report. Yeah, I think a lot of us look at this and think, the older style and design brings back, evokes images of what Steveston was. I'm curious, though, if we keep the heritage designation, within the heritage revitalization agreement, you can still take it down quite a bit, but then it drives or dictates how you can rebuild it. So you save as much as you can, you try and build it. It can be then dictated how it's built. If you take away the heritage designation, then you can no longer do style and form. Is that correct?
Through the chair to Councillor Liu, for all properties in Steveston Village, there are design guidelines. So any new construction does have design guidelines that help guide what the form and character of new development. However, with a protected heritage property, a heritage conservation plan would be developed for the historic building that would help identify how it will be conserved, so including how much of it can be retained and how it will be restored as part of a larger development. So that specific design is really part of the heritage building and that historic character that is in place and that would be proposed to be retained, I think, through a heritage conservation plan.
Okay, because it seems to me like in current building codes, you know, you need things higher, you need to put in like, I don't know, sprinklers and air conditioning, and like all different things need to be incorporated into a new building. And so you need sort of a bigger scale for what you're doing, but you could still essentially make it look the same, saving as many pieces as you could. And does that still fall into it, or that's taking it out of the heritage?
Through the chair to Councillor Liu, I think that would be part of exactly what could be retained, how it is adapted to its new use or ongoing use would be part of what would be explored through a heritage planning process. Lots of historic buildings do get adapted to modern use and continue to be in use centuries later and incorporate the requirements that are needed for modern living or modern use. So that's part of the expertise that can be brought to this kind of process, rather than requiring a building to be rebuilt or reconstructed. In order to meet that, there's typically lots that can be done to adapt from a historic building to continue its use as a hotel or whatever was the compatible use that was identified.
Okay, but sometimes it's cheaper to just kind of start again than to work around, but okay. Sorry, I had one more question that's wandered off on me. Thanks.
Okay, come back to you. Carol?
Yeah, it might be cheaper to start again, but that's not the point of the heritage status, is it?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, no, the intention is to retain the heritage, the original fabric, as well as the historic character of the building.
I'm really glad that you included in the report on page 18, 20, and 22 pictures of the original Sockeye Hotel. That's my goal. Let's get back to that look again. And then on page 23, you have a great picture of the addition that was built in 1948, which had like the porthole windows. And again, if we could get back to that facade, I think we'd be really rocking and rolling in Richmond and really do incredible things for the village of Steveston. But we're not saying that's all you can do, right? Like, we're also saying, and I went through the thing that the city can offer density, subdivision, and building height changes. So if the front is maintained, there's still a lot of room at the back and the side. We could work with the applicant to, build it higher in the back. Is there any indication? Because I mean, across the street, I think it's 5 stories, isn't it? At the Savon building. Is that 5 stories?
I believe it's 4.
4?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So if we were to work with the applicant to maintain that facade structure in the front, what do you think we could give them in the back? Or maybe you don't want to put that out there today.
Through the chair to Councillor Day, I think you've summarized the report quite well. What we were trying to put across is that, yes, there is heritage designation. However, we need to understand what are the improvements to bring the building back to its former glory, but there's also development potential still on the site as well. And so we need to explore that much further to look at, well, okay, what could be built with under current zoning? But we could look at relaxations, whether it's additional height or density, whatever it may be. It would be part of a comprehensive package, which part of that package would be refurbishing the Stevenson Hotel building.
And then when it comes to subdivision was mentioned, so if the owner needed to gain some funds to do the renovation or the addition, they could potentially subdivide off part of the property?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, that is a potential option of many, but yes.
Wasn't that applied for previously?
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Day, there was a subdivision that, for the Stevenson Courthouse site,
Right.
which is subject to another development application, which is actually somewhat similar, where they're looking at preserving a heritage building on the site, but looking at maximizing development on
Yeah.
the remainder. So,
Well, I would have to say if the developer came back with bringing it back to its former glory, I'd be pretty willing to look at a lot of really cool things in the back, whether that's density or whether that's subdivision or whether that's height. Because I think that in order to bring it back to its former glory, we're going to have to be a little flexible on the back and the back and the north part of the property. And so I would agree, given that there are all of these options, density, subdivision, and building height changes, we should keep the heritage status.
Just a quick comment, finish up. It is the oldest building in Steveston, by far, okay? I don't, 1897. The post office was 1906 and Hepburn Building 1913. And the Gulf of Georgia Cannery was in between there. So it is the oldest building, and that's one of its salient points, in my opinion, from a heritage point of view. This would be on it. So I hope that that's referred to in the next presentation, that it is the oldest building, remaining building, that is. So anyhow, we're receiving information. Thank you for the report. I think it's a good report. Actually, the hotel was started in 1896 across the street at Rod's Lumber. It was the hotel, that was the hotel Mr. Lee had, and they moved it across the street. Believe it or not, Andy was there those days. Anyhow, thank you for your report. Motion on the floor. Moved, seconded. All those in favor? Contrary, carried. Okay, for information, manager's report. I thought you'd like that. Okay. Thank you, gentlemen.
Good afternoon,
Come on
Mr.
forward.
Chair. I'd just like to take a moment to introduce a new member of the Development Applications team, Edison Ting. Edison has recently joined us as a Planner 3. He's got previous work experience from other municipalities in the Lower Mainland and will be working on a number of complex rezoning and development permit projects in the city.
Well, welcome to the team. Thank you. Good to see you. Thank you.
Very much. Thank you.
Okay.
In terms of manager's update number 2. So last week, through an order in council, the province brought into force legislation that extends the in-stream protection period for Metro Vancouver Regional District DCCs from 1 year to 2 years. What this ultimately means is that building permits that were submitted or where an eligible precursor application was received prior to March 21st, 2024, are protected against Metro Vancouver DCC increases, which took effect in January earlier this year. Eligible applications have until March 21st, 2026 to have their building permits issued. I do want to stress that there is no change or impact to applicable city DCCs as a result of the legislation, only Metro.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, anything else for the good of planning today? Move adjournment? We are adjourned. Thank you very much.